Another
So
topic.
next one.
Next one. We have the relationship with your spouse. Jerry, I've been told divorce is expensive.
Oh my goodness. I unfortunately have seen that. Yes, and that is true. Um,
In a way, I'm glad it is because that could be the only thing that keeps our
because it's
wives around.
good.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, it's very expensive. Not only that, it's just, strife in family in general is expensive. It's taxing. When we talk about the challenges of daily life and work and what have you, boy, throw family disruption into the midst, and it's even more difficult. And I have for sure seen that. I mean, I can't tell you how many, in our business, we are often, quasi psychologists, or at least therapists listening to, the plight of the client who's going through, God knows what challenge that it might, and oftentimes is family related. It's very sad through a lot of long discussions with people who are just hurting because of the challenges that their family life brought to them. So yes, as much as you possibly can, try and keep that family unit in order because connected and unified, because otherwise it's not only is it expensive, it's financially devastating, but even more so, it's psychologically devastating.
so many people make excuses for divorce. Our friend Layla Miller, I've known her a little longer than you have, but Layla, back before you moved here, Jerry, she wrote a book. She just edited a book, really. She didn't even write it. She put it together, but she collected stories from probably, I can't remember, it was 50 or 100 adult children of divorce.
Yeah.
And so she put all these stories together, some of whom were practicing Catholics, some of whom had lost their faith completely. And just the amount of devastation that divorce does to the kids is well into life is has been understated. It's a bill of goods that society has been sold. So you're going to do something that's ruinous to your finances, your own psychology, and whether you see it or not, the psychology of your kids. Don't take such decision lightly. And furthermore, don't take the decision to enter the marriage lightly. That's where these things often go wrong, is the fact that maybe the decision was entered lightly to begin with, and you backed yourself into a bad situation. We're starting behind the eight ball.
Yeah, I've heard. I don't remember if this. I think I heard this from a client, and maybe you'll correct me and say this was something that's probably been thrown about many times. But an older gentleman speaking to the younger generation who asked, how did you and grandma stay together 60 years? And the answer was, well, when we got married, it was, or no, how do you say? He said, today people expect that one partner is going to give 50%, the other partner is going to give 50%. In our day, we both gave 100%. And I thought that was pretty solid thinking, and maybe is something a little bit of a difference between, maybe 100 years ago or 75 years ago versus today, and maybe even in the last 50 years or 60 years or so, where the divorce rates have just gone through the roof.
It's not like marriage is like an account that was intended with marriage in mind, the joint tenants with rights of survivorship. With joint tenants with rights of survivorship and that type of account, you don't own 50% of the account. You each have entire access to the entire account. You're each 100% owners.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with marriage. You each have to take 100% ownership of that marriage. So,
For sure. But I think the 50-50 is kind of more what people think. Well,
mhm.
kind of like it needs to be equal in this sense of there's a zero sum game kind of thing. And, I'll do the, lawn and the cleaning the garage and the dishes, and you do the cooking and the cleaning and da. And it's like, it doesn't, it's this balancing as in the context of, I'm not going to do it all. You're not going to do it all. We're going to do our half. And I think that's what this man was trying to convey. Now, maybe you can tell me you've heard that somewhere as well, but I thought that was pretty good, in a good way of looking at married life and family life in general.
Not for other places.
Yep.
So divorced. Don't get divorced,
Okay.
and Don't marriage.
Help it, please don't.
Don't.
It's expensive.
It's very expensive.
And it makes us have to have therapy sessions we don't want to have.
Yes. And you don't want to be, one of the things I've found is there's no real good time once you have, especially once you have kids, to get divorced, because I know people have said, well, we'll do it after the kids are grown or whatever. It would seem to me that would be if my parents were to get divorced now, which it's not going to happen, wouldn't happen, no chance of happening, it would essentially turn my entire life into a lie in some form or fashion. So it would pull the rug out of your adult kids in a way that could be entirely different and maybe even worse than if you did it as a kid. So it's just awful to do to children. Again, I'm in a happy marriage, so I mean my wife may not be in a happy marriage, but I'm in a happy marriage. So
well, we know she is saint-like.
Exactly, very long suffering. But I'm in a happy marriage, so I can't. I know when you're in the thick of it, it's always different. I'm not trying to throw stones. I'm trying to save people from themselves. So, but ultimately, that's God's job.